Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to yet another uLaw webinar. In today's topic, we're going to be talking about the integrated payment collection features and functionalities within uLawPractice. And right out of the gate, I want to ensure you understand that today's session is not accredited for CPD. We do have our CPD session later in the month. But today's session is going to focus primarily on how you would integrate third-party credit card processing gateways along with uLaw to facilitate a more seamless, very functional, and efficient payment acceptance. And the most important aspect of that also is the fact that it is compliant, especially if you're dealing with trust money in the form of retainers. So we're going to talk about how legal professionals, lawyers, paralegals today are embracing technologies to better adapt and really adopt to the modern ways of how technology has enabled them to be anywhere with any device acceptance. Gone are the days where you're just collecting payments in the form of checks and or cash. With technology, with the advent of that, now you have not just the capability, but the capacity to transact as many matter-based payments from your clients, and you have the opportunity to leave them to be self-served as well. So you're not just sitting in your office, you're able to now send an invoice with a link that actually allows your clients to actually pay for your service at their own leisure. So we're going to cover all those different components in today's webinar session. And as a quick housekeeping, I kindly request you to participate in the webinar to make this more meaningful and a lot more fun-filled by using our chat window to ask any questions that you may have with regards to today's session. And please do use the chat window to ask any other questions as well. And we will cover them during the last segment of our Q&A of this webinar. So moving along, we're going to talk about the agenda. Every uLaw webinar has an agenda, and so does this one. We're going to talk about what is the value that payment integrations provide to your business. How can it streamline the most important aspect of your business, which is not only being able to send out invoices in the opportune time, but also to be paid in the fastest way possible so that you can reduce that days on sale, the amount of time that a client takes to pay you, really bringing that down drastically, which is obviously going to help bring up your top line of your business. Okay, because all of this, what it fundamentally means is it's value addition to improve the efficiency of your business and the top line. We continue to integrate with the two key players in Canada, Moneris, and you've probably heard of them, as well as Pivotal Payments. And we're very much in the integration process of working with a few Canadian banks, such as TD and RBC, and some third-party Canadian gateways as well. So we sincerely hope by this fall we would have a lot more options to integrate with. But nevertheless, Moneris and Pivotal are two, good Canadian companies that we work with that have helped our clients. And if there's anyone who's looking to explore what those online payment gateways look like, we'll be more than happy to introduce you to them. We're going to talk about what are the compliant methods of collecting funds electronically in trust, right? A big part of this webinar is going to be a demonstration of uLaw, how you can get into uLaw, set up the settings appropriately, and ensure that you're getting paid by integrating with either Moneris and our Pivotal. And if time permits, we'll probably choose both those different options so you get a good feel for what the user interface looks like for both of these two players. Okay, how do you set that up within your settings? How do you ensure you're getting paid appropriately within your trust account? The interesting part of why we chose these two key players, they were one of the fundamental companies that was able to keep that trust compliance in play. And what that trust compliance means is this: let's say you decide to go with Moneris, Now, Moneris would sign you up with two accounts that they provide. One is for your trust account, again, assuming that you do trust and retainers and deal with trust money. They would give you your own trust account that would directly connect with the trust account in your bank, and they would give you another general account that would connect with your general bank. And let's say you agree upon a 1.5% or 2% service fee. Just traditionally how this works is that they would draw a service fee for every transaction amount, and there may be a few more characteristics to help you understand what those rates would range. And let's say it's a $1,000 retainer and it's a 1.5% or 2%, let's say, service fee. Moneris would ensure that it deposits, it transacts the credit card, it deposits the $1,000 in your trust account, but it ensures that it leaves your trust untouched and withdraws the service fee of $200 directly from your general account. Okay, so that's what we mean by keeping it compliant, keeping your trust untouched. That way you can reconcile your trust that much more faster. And with the integration of uLaw, what does that leave you with? As a uLaw client, it gives you the convenience of using a single pane of window right within uLaw, so you don't have to jump into another screen, accept credit cards. There is no point of sale system now. You just log into uLaw, go to that particular matter for that particular client, and either for a trust retainer or for a client payment, just use the integrated way to accept those credit card information and process that payment. Okay. We also want to start off with kind of covering some of the pros and cons of the integrated payment solutions. We'll start off with some of the pros. The most fundamental reason why you want to do that is getting paid faster and accurately, right? Cost effectively and in the most convenient fashion. And by partnering with the right people, we're also adding to that the compliance aspect to it. But getting paid faster and accurately means that it's going to improve the top line of your business. That means we've reduced the days on sale that your invoice balances are outstanding for payments, as well as made it convenient for your clients to work with you as a legal professional, because now they can pay for it at their own leisure using the convenience of their phone or its convenience of their laptop or any internet-connected device. So you're electronically now able to send an invoice that gets paid automatically by your client, because that's a huge convenience that you are able to provide them. And why is it cost-effective? As much as there is a cost for everything in today's life, and so there is for a cost for providing you the service by these different providers, it also is cost-effective because you don't want to deal with bounce checks and NSF charges and et cetera and things like that. And also, if it's closer to the day of reconciliation, that's going to just lead to a lot more transactions that you need to now take care of. And with time being money, translating to money, you want to safeguard all of that time to be spent on better things for your life. So integrating with third-party payment gateways in today's context, providing you with that compliance factor, cost-effectiveness. And if I can add to that, all these players, including uLaw, are very secure because we all have a 256-bit encrypted, secured website, so you can be quite confident that that information is not being sent out anywhere. And a quick point to note also is that uLaw does not store the credit card information. That was one of the questions that we received from our last webinar. We actually just pass along the information that we capture to the appropriate payment processing server, and they are the ones who would be dealing with that. Okay? And when you talk about convenience, you talk about anytime, anywhere access. And this is not just for yourself, but we spoke about the convenience now that you're able to provide your end clients who are now able to pay you anytime, anywhere using an internet-connected device. Okay? And the fourth convenience aspect, or one of the pros of the integrated payment solution, is that we also allow you to accept major credit cards. Okay, so you don't want to restrict your clients to a certain type of credit card because certain point of sale systems may not accept, Discover cards or American Express. Visa and MasterCard, as we know, are accepted in almost all of these different payment gateways. But working with Moneris and Pivotal has allowed us to extend that capability to accept American and Discover as well. And last but not the least, you're not only able to accept these credit card payments and transact them in a fast, convenient, secure way, you're now able to manage your invoice balances and trust retainers better, right? You can be assured of getting paid on time, especially if, let's say, a client walks into your office and hands that retainer $1,000 and uses a credit card. You can be rest assured right there that the amount is available in your trust, and even before your client leaves your office, he or she can actually have a receipt before they leave. It's that simple, instead of obviously dealing with bounce checks and other delays. Okay? And when we talk about, we just spoke about this, so we speak about online credit card for trust in general. We spoke about how Pivotal Payments, Moneris, separates the two kiosks or accounts, as we call it, for trust and general. By keeping them separate, that's how they're able to accomplish the ability to leave your trust untouched when it comes to withdrawing that service fee of whatever percentage it is on that transacted amount. Okay, by separating the terminal IDs or kiosks between trust and general, and then being able to connect those two kiosks that they provide you with your actual trust account in your bank, maybe TD or RBC, and the general kiosk being directly connected to your general account bank. Okay? And the fact that it's directly connected makes it easy for the workflow to clearly identify which account the money is being deposited into and being withdrawn from as well, really depending on the situation. Manage and streamline processing and record these transactions as they happen. One of the fundamentals of bookkeeping as legal professionals in this very busy world that we keep reiterating is the ability for you to capture things as they happen in the moment. Okay? You don't want to keep it to catch up. Let's say someone paid you, you're not writing down credit card numbers to do it at a later time. It's right there, right with the uLaw, and that's the convenience that we provide you through that integration. But as that client provides you that information, you're capturing even that ledger or that transaction as and when it happened, ensuring not just the convenience of everything else that you provide your client, but also the convenience of the service delivery. So if your client walks into your office or is calling you to make a payment, the ability to provide them with that service capability and the convenience would go a long way in not only through that particular transaction, and also the brand acceptance and them referring you and talking about that convenience that you provided to some of their other friends. And referral business obviously is a big thing within the legal community. And obviously, you're ensuring that the funds are approved. So if someone provides you a credit card without enough funds, then Moneris or Pivotal is going to tell you right then and there when that client's in front of you and let them know that they probably need to use another credit card, or you can figure out how you can do partial payments for either a payment or a retainer. So the truth or the information is provided to you in real time, so you're not playing catch up. Okay. Before we actually get into the demonstration, and maybe this is something that will kind of paint the picture, if you will, through the slide. A quick question I think we've just received in the chat window. I would like to clarify that this webinar will be recorded and will be available to you either to the weekend or first thing on Monday. We'll send it to you via email. Yes, and it will be available to you also in our YouTube video. Okay. So what is the integration of these payment gateways? So we just spoke about the benefits of payment gateways and why you should consider online credit card processing providers to accept payments for your law firm or your legal firm. Now we want to take the next step to really understand how are you going to now integrate, or how do we enable you to integrate those two different types of payment gateways with your own uLaw account. Okay? We're going to obviously walk this through during our demonstration, but just to paint the picture, it's all within our settings panel. So within our accounts tab, within our settings panel, once you've signed up with either Moneris or Pivotal, we then allow you to provide the two key pieces of information that they provide you, or four in fact, which is the kiosk and an appropriate password. So they do protect you. They give you that two-point protection, not just the security on your website, but they ensure that it's protected through a password for both your trust and general account. And you're able to input that directly into your uLaw account. And once you save it, and once you start to accept that credit card process, we use that gateway information you just included in your settings to do the transaction. So that's as simple as it gets. Register with Moneris or Pivotal. We leave our clients to do the due diligence. We give them the informed decisions, and they can take that decision on their own time. Once you've decided one of these providers, you provide that information to uLaw, and you're pretty much ready to go. So keep in mind before we jump into the demonstration, the key benefits of an integrated credit card processing system integrated with a legal accounting software such as uLaw that is efficient, very flexible, improves your top line. That's something that you always want to keep in mind. It's secure. So if there's a big concern about how secure the information is that you accept, you can be rest assured that it is HTTPS and fully hosted payment solutions are encrypted and most importantly tokenized. And they also provide you with the extra password so that you're protected from your end as well. And the cost effectiveness, keep in mind that there is obviously a price to pay in this world, and there's certainly a certain percentage of the transaction fee that you have to pay these providers. If you look at the bigger picture though, if you want to not deal with bounce checks and the time that you lose in having to deal with all those things, if it's that much more convenient and comfortable for your firm to use third party, then the overall cost kind of pays for itself. Okay, so those are the top 4 reasons why you should consider using a third party or an online credit card processing system. I'll really skip these screenshots, but just so you know, it's available to you in a webinar format. So these screenshots help as to how you would transact once we get in. Last but not the least, what we've done at uLaw is we've now taken that an extra step. The one use case was obviously the individual walking into your office where you're able to now accept that payment right through uLaw. The other convenience that we're providing you is the ability for you to send an invoice, an electronic invoice, by email, and then adding or attaching this little link right at the bottom of the invoice, especially when there's an amount due or owing, that your end client can then click at their own leisure, fill their information, and as soon as they pay for it, you're notified, and that's something that uLaw does. We notify you as our client that a payment has just been received and make you aware of that so that you can ensure that your bookkeeping software, uLaw, is updated with that information. Okay? So it's not like we send you an invoice and you send the invoice and you have no idea what's actually happened. We notify you as soon as your client self-serves and pays for that invoice. And that's a tremendous peace of mind and a convenience that we're able to provide. Dean is one of our colleagues or friends we work with at Pivotal. More than happy to provide her information, and you do get a special discount if you are a uLaw customer. As we look forward, one of the conveniences that we want to extend further is as we develop our app. I mean, for the longest time, uLawPractice has been an online presence, but in the last few months, we've introduced our first version of our uLaw app, which is available both in the iOS as well as the Android Play Store. In our roadmap, it is available to complete and provide the ability to docket time right from your phone. As we continue to finish that feature, we're already in the process of bringing in the ability for you to accept payments right from your phone, okay? Right through the app, if I were to be more specific. So you could still use the web version of uLaw, but to use the app version, we're going to bring the same convenience that we're bringing you on the web version right into the app with some of the cool features that the nativity of these apps provide. So such as scanning a credit card. You don't have to type it in. You can just scan it. Some of those cool things that we can do. So you meet a client, they're willing to pay you, give you that payment. You can just open up your uLaw app, scan their business credit card, and take their payments right there. So that's kind of the next wave or roadmap looking forward. And combining with that is also going to be the ability that as you get paid, you're not only notified of that payment, but we're going to take that responsibility of ledgering it as well. So today, you still have that one manual step of getting paid, but then entering that into uLaw. Come this fall, we're going to extend that capability to provide you with those automated ledgering. Obviously, that will be an option in your settings, so you have the option of choosing yes or no. If you still want to keep total control of how you ledger, you want to switch that to no. But if you're happy with us automating that ledger for you, we can do that as well. Okay. And yes, we're integrating with some other Canadian third-party payment gateways. We're looking at a few options, including Pluto, that provides a very cost-effective rate for solo practitioners. And we're also looking at the major banks. We're already in discussion with TD and RBC to do that. And for those who don't know who we are, uLawPractice, we are a very proud Canadian legal accounting and practice management software, and our goal is to ensure cost-effective, pain-free, compliant legal accounting and practice management experience for all legal professionals in Canada. Okay? And we do offer a no obligation 30-day trial on our website, and we welcome you and encourage you to try us out. Now let me take a pause and shift some gears and jump into my uLaw demo, where I'm pretty much going to showcase to you everything that I've been talking about the last 20 minutes. Okay? I'm now logged in to my fictitious lawyer account or playground account as a fictitious lawyer Roger Moore. And first things first, let's do a quick client intake so that I can set the context. What I'm hoping to paint the picture through this demo is how we've made it, in fact, seamless through the whole workflow or process that you have today within uLaw, intaking a client, creating a matter, docketing, invoicing, and then comes the component of getting paid, right? And we'll also pause to take that retainer as a use case as well. So we'll probably do both, and I'll also try and showcase to you what a Moneris user interface looks like and what a pivotal user interface looks like. Okay. Let me answer a quick question, as it's, I believe, contextual to before I get in. Who do I contact within Moneris? So the question is, who do I contact to get my Moneris account? It's a good, quick question. We will send back to you the information that we know, but as far as I know, you can actually go to Moneris.com, and there is a quick sign-up page right on their website, and they do provide you a call back to talk a little bit more about your situation and how they price you out. Okay, so let me see if I can get you contact information, but I would certainly start with Moneris.com. So let me go ahead into my contacts in uLaw and add a new client. We'll go ahead and say this is Eli Manning. I'll say it was an advertisement through which Eli got to know me. And let's say Google Ads. The Law Society would like me to capture a quick address information. So let me go ahead and type that in. I can say Ontario, ON, Canada, and I'll mark that as the mailing address. And with the app, obviously, you could provide the phone number and almost use the uLaw app as your legal phone book. And as I said, when we have the docketing feature in the end of the month or early July, you would actually be able to take those call logs of everyone that you've called, and then we would ask if you can actually docket those call logs. So it's pretty cool for you to make the call to Eli, but then for uLaw to remember that and remind you if you want to docket that as a billable item. Okay. To keep you in context of today's conversation, let me go ahead and create a matter for Mr. Eli and kind of keep things simple. Let me just go ahead and say it's a fence issue. It's just Peyton Manning, his brother, and I'll call it a small claims. Okay. And I'll just go ahead and save. What this does, obviously, is creates a file number within uLaw for this Peyton Manning versus Eli Manning small claims matter. And one of the first steps you want to do is, ensure. Let's take the first use case. And the first use case is you accepting a retainer. Okay. The old school way of, accepting retainers, which we still support, is let's say you take that retainer through a check or email transfer, which is probably one of those newer things. You could do bank drafts, etc. But let's say you're accepting credit cards. That's the new thing. And Eli is still in your office. I'm going to go ahead, click on Disbursements Retainer, or you can actually click on Action. It's the same screen. The Deposit and Trust, it's a new retainer. Let me use that. Let's say he just walked in this afternoon and he just paid me $1,000 of retainer. Okay? Now the fact that I've integrated this, so let me take a quick pause before I move on. The fact that I've already integrated my settings of uLaw with Pivotal is why the payment collection button turns on. And then if I actually choose my payment collection and validate those information, I'm now able to connect Eli Manning's credit card information right within here. But just before I do that, just as a quick prerequisite, let me quickly show you under settings how that's done. So everyone's aware of how the settings work. It's how we allow you to personalize the overall uLaw experience for your individual firm. And if you go into our Accounts tab, you will notice a new option here called Payment Collection. By default, it will be set to none. Let's say that you do sign up with either Pivotal or Moneris. As I mentioned, we are using our test account for today's demonstration, but let's say you do sign up with Pivotal. You would come in here, choose Pivotal. You would provide us with the Trust Terminal ID, the secret key or HVP key, and then the terminal ID, the general terminal ID, and its appropriate secret key. Okay. So, in me wanting to showcase to you both those different user interfaces, let me first choose Moneris. You can see Moneris goes with the store IDs, and Pivotal does the terminal IDs, just as a nomenclature. Okay, so it gives you a store ID, it gives you your own password. Enter that and save it. That's all we've done. Walked into settings, into accounts, provide your Moneris information, and hit save. Now let's go back to matters. Let's do the same thing. I'll say action. I'm going to deposit that money in trust because it's a new retainer. I'll take that same $1,000. And when I just tab out, I don't even have to choose these methods of payments. I'll leave it at credit card for now. But it's very important that you get the transaction number, especially it's a credit card. You want to make sure you get the transaction number. You may use the point of sale system. You may use the old school swipe system. But the integrated way is to just click on payment collection right within your uLaw account. This connects, as you can see, with terminal ID or the store ID, because this is a Moneris account. Confirms that it's $1,000. You want to validate those and say collect payment now. And this is a different user interface, if you remember, from what the Pivotal user interface looked like. I'm going to confirm to you, all right, it's $1,000. That's the order ID that it auto-generates, Moneris. And kind of gives you the picture of the different payment transaction options you have. Asks you for the cardholder name. Let's just say it's Eli Manning. I'm just going to put a fake number here, and I'll put an expiry date. This is a test card number, so as I always say, don't try this at home. I've already tried it, and it does not work. And I will go ahead and say process transaction, because it says click the process transaction to charge your card. Only click the button once, and using the back, refresh, or cancel button, get out of it. Okay? So let me go ahead and hit process transaction. So what it does in real life, and for your case, as legal professionals who have integrated with Moneris and uLaw, this would actually in real time connect with Eli's credit card, take that information, hit those servers, transact it, get you back with an approval code to make sure there were enough funds in his bank or in his credit card to provide that $1,000. Okay, so right there is where it's being caught, and ensure the quality of that payment so there are no surprises. If this did not come back with an approval code, and let's say there were not enough funds, it's going to tell you right away with an error code of insufficient funds, so that you can now go back to Eli and ask him to present with a different card. Okay, so that's one headache less through this process. Okay, now that Moneris has provided you with the transaction approved, it gives you a certain pieces of information that you could use. It gives you a reference number. It gives you an authorization code. And I would highly recommend using the reference number. So let's just highlight it, copy it, and just enter it into uLaw. This is the part that will be provided to you as an option to be automated come this fall. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead, put that reference number in for that payment of credit card. It's going to be deposited directly into TD. If someone else paid for this, if Eli's dad paid for this, you could put his information in, Mr. Manning's information. But if Eli paid for it, you leave it empty, because the receipt would be made for Mr. Eli. Go ahead and provide a receipt, so you want to check that off, and you're going to just hit apply, just like anything else in uLaw. Okay? Would be the same thing had you accepted that through a check. Just a little pivot, if you will, was the integration of that credit card company right in the context. Okay, so it's not available everywhere. It's only right with the context of accepting a payment of sorts, either for a retainer or for a client payment. Let me go ahead and download that retainer receipt, which is very important. Highly encourage legal professionals to always provide a payment receipt, even if that's for a retainer. Has all the information in. Also has the credit card authorization number filled in right here. So this receipt gives you all the information your client wants: a receipt number, the client, the address, the amount, more importantly, what was it for, and how did he pay for it, or he or she pay for it. Okay? So right there, you've got Mr. Eli Manning happy, and he's going to be on his way, hoping that you're going to represent him against his brother Peyton Manning. Now let's go ahead and put in a few dockets and a few disbursements, and then start to fill this file up. Okay, so initial client meeting. Just going to start the initial consult. Okay, just leave it at that. It's always a great best practice habit to put in those descriptions, because then you have the option of showing them in your invoice, so that the invoice itself is very self-explanatory to your clients. Okay, so you want to do as much as possible so that it's self-explanatory, where your clients are not calling you back and taking away that time. Okay, so you want to reduce the amount of service calls or phone calls that you're getting back for simple invoice questions. So the more you can explain yourself, take that time there to do it, so that the clients don't call back. Okay, and yet another way that you can save yourself time and be efficient. Let me just toggle this to a billable time. I'm going to say I spent on this in our 6 minutes, and come up with this, because this is a demo, so I guess it doesn't have to be real. I'm just going to, for once, say that I'm charging you more than what I've spent, though I know that in the legal world, mostly the other way around. So at about $150 an hour, I've taken that, multiplied by 2, added my HST, and my billable time is about $339. Fantastic. Let me continue down that path. Say there's a bit of a document review. I'm going to click description, view, documents, just making this up. Now let me keep this interesting and make this about $450. I'll say I spent, let's keep it real this time, 3 hours on it, and I'm charging you $450. Okay, so you've got a couple of different dockets. As you continue to see the projected balance getting down, there's only about $152 left. Let's just go ahead, add in your disbursement, paid from general. I'll say court fee, $80. I'm also going to say I'm paying it to Ministry of Finance, or no. Or it's actually the other way around, is it not? It's the courthouse. Whoever it's being paid for. Okay? Let's say it's a credit card that I used. I'm going to go ahead and charge that client that $80 plus tax. All right, there's still $62 left. So let me do my final disbursement. I'm just going to say I used a third-party consultant to represent me in California for one of those, I'm going to say consultancy expenses, out-of-state representation. $75. You're going to see that's going to add up and be definitely more than the $62 that's still left in trust. And this is where you're going to tell your own business how much you paid for it. So maybe you only paid $50, but you're charging the client $75. Smart thing to do. And you're paying this to Johnson. All right. We've got a bunch of disbursements. We've got a couple of dockets. Fairly interesting. Now you're going to notice this file change black, which is fantastic. You want to stay in the black. The client now owes you $22.65. So there's a bit of method to the madness as to why I wanted to showcase that client owing you money. So let me go ahead now and raise an invoice. Okay. Before that, let me go ahead and change the setting, and now I'll show you what a pivotal UI looks like. Let me go ahead and click Save. Okay. And let me jump back into my matter. That's some of the conveniences of uLaw. Always brings up the most recent matter. And go ahead and raise an invoice. Obviously, I highly recommend, and we all at uLaw recommend, that you generate as many pre-bills as possible before you generate that invoice. For the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to go ahead and hit Complete. I'm not going to mark this as paid because the client does owe me $22 because I've spent more than the effort that I've put in is more than the initial retainer that I received. I'm going to leave the description so it's self-explanatory, and I'm going to go ahead and click Invoice. Okay. I'll wait for it. As you know, it's a two-step process. I'll hit the download button, and now I generate my uLaw invoice, and it's going to be interesting to notice what this has to offer. So it's yet another uLaw invoice, nothing very different right up the gate. This particular theme obviously has the client information. It very smartly has the amount due right away, has an invoice number, and it talks about all those different dockets. Okay, so it's nothing very fancy. It's just same old uLaw invoice, with the only difference being where it talks about the billables, it talks about the disbursements. It even, because it's a running invoice, it also talks about the retainer touch points, that $1,000 retainer that you received. But when you look at the final summary, okay, where it actually tells the client $22.65, you have to notice that you actually have this little link here. It says, please click here to pay the balance using credit card. Okay. Now let's assume that you've now electronically emailed this to your client, right? So this is an electronic PDF. You can actually send this via email to your client, right? I'm going to go ahead and save it there. Go into my Gmail. Okay. Enter my password. I'm just kind of painting the picture as to how you would do that. Let me go ahead and compose an email. Notice that every time I do raise an invoice, it does send a little summary note when I do raise an invoice. I'm going to use one of my canned responses. Dear Eli, talking about this. Now let me just drag and drop that invoice right in here. And I'll send this to ourselves. Okay. Obviously, your client receives it. He's going to open the invoice. He's going to click on it. And there it is. Eli looks at your invoice. He's like, all right, what do I see here? Oh, perfect. I have the opportunity to pay for it. I have about $22.65 that I still owe him. He's going to click on that link. And now Eli is presented with a pivotal payment screen. So when we switch that from Moneris to pivotal, it switched gears to a pivotal, again, just to show you the user interface. And let's assume he used the same credit card. I'm going to say this is Eli Manning. Let's provide that CVV. And let's say he does a pay now. And this is Eli doing it from his home in California, let's say. Okay? So he gets sent an email with the same information. You can hide that. You can just, but you don't have to worry about it because you are now going to be notified via email as soon as he gets paid. Let me just wait for my email, and there it is. Payment processing approved. What does this piece of information tell you? Right away, it tells you the order ID for which it was paid for, the amount that Eli paid you, the response, so it was approved. So it was denied. If it was denied, it would tell you that as well. The card that was used, the approval code, and the unique reference number. And we also give you this little hint saying copy this into your ledger or into your bookkeeping software. And it tells you the client name and even the matter name. Okay? So now let's go into uLaw. We'll hit our question mark. Always remember to hit the question mark to accept your payments. Obviously, there is the $1,000 that you can transfer from trust to general. But the point we're trying to prove, now that you've got that payment of $22.65, actually, if you put in 24, I'm just going to say 22.65. I'm going to say, yep, I got paid through a credit card. I just got that email. That's the information. I owe him a receipt for that payment. Let me compose that email. Thank you. And payment receipt attached. Okay, how simple is that, right? You probably electronically sign this and drag and drop this into your email. And the other very important thing to note is going paperless, okay? So a big part of this is also the fact that you've now gone paperless and, you know, it's all electronic that you're sending this information in. And that's a very, very important value add right there, okay? So just to recap everything that we've done, we looked at how payment gateways can help your business be more efficient, improve your top line, how this is a secure channel for you to accept payments through a credit card, whether that's for a retainer that we just received for $1,000 from Eli, and we showed the Moneris user interface that allows you to transact that amount, provides you in real time the approval for that credit card that was just used to avoid any bank charges or NSFs, any of those hassles of dealing with bounce checks or insufficient amounts in banks or funds. We went through the motion of building up that file, putting in our dockets, everything that you do on a day-to-day basis, even adding disbursements, raising that invoice. And when that threshold of that invoice amount was above the initial retainer that was provided, and the client owed us money, we were able to generate that invoice. Right within that invoice, embed a self-serve link that facilitates Eli to then pay for that service and the amount due as a self-serve by himself. And as soon as Eli paid for it, you as the legal professional got notified by email about that particular transaction, its success, and all you had to do was copy over the unique ID and update it in your bookkeeping software, uLaw. Keeping it compliant, keeping it simple, paperless, and efficient. That's what the integrated payment gateway provides when it's integrated with uLaw. And the ledgers and the touch points, let's just finish off this file. I'll go ahead and click question mark. I'll hit transfer. Another very important component of the uLaw software is it keeping you compliant. Though the overall invoice was for $1,022, it's only going to allow you to move the eligible trust amount from your trust into your general. We'll go ahead with an electronic fund transfer. And obviously we pre-populate your Form 9A. Again, keeping it paperless, keeping it simple. Okay. There it is. And you could send that, file that, and make sure that you have that Form 9A pre-populated and available, as it is one of those audit documents that's been asked for. So let's look at it is an editable PDF. Okay. And the ledgers remain to be the same. When you go ahead and look at the ledgers, again, the fact that you've now saved time is going to allow you to focus more on your business, and the fact that you have uLaw is going to allow you to be compliant. That's going to allow you to be, worry-free. And when I go into my trust ledger, and let me choose the particular amount for Mr. Eli Manning, you're going to notice how the ledger also reflects the credit card payment. There you go. This was through the electronic integrated payment that we got that. And when you generate the ledger for the general account, you would be notified of the order ID. Again, keeping those transactions, getting them as and when they happen. A big component of this also is the fact that you're able to capture the truth in the moment and reflect it in the bookkeeping software, so you're not playing catch up, which often can be the biggest problem when it comes to keeping your bookkeeping software either catching up with real life or the other way around. Okay? We often highlight that. There is Mr. Eli Manning's general reconciliation, including the payment that he made for that $22.65 through his credit card, which had the order ID and the approval code right from our pivotal payments. Fantastic. So with that, I'll probably come to an end of my session, but I'd like to open the floor now for any Q&A. As I said, a big part of the learning process is also the fact that we as, you as legal professionals can actually ask the pertinent questions. There's a bit of a shared learning. So I will open the chat window for you to ask any questions with regards to this particular webinar or presentation. And we do have our support staff online who are willing to and more than happy to answer your questions. Okay, we've got our first question. This is a very uLaw specific question, is how do I generate all the outstanding invoices, and can I use that to be paid using a credit card? That is a very good question. It is possible. It's a two-step process. So if I can just repeat that question, I believe you want to look at the invoice balance report, and you want to know how you can use that to use the credit card gateway to almost pay for it, right? So we have a few clients, and this is kind of their daily drill, or the assistant does it, or if it's a sole practitioner, that individual almost makes it a routine, do it. So right under accounts, document generation, other. It's kind of hidden, but we're actually bringing it up right, later on this month. The report invoice balance, as the name sounds, really highlights what that report is. This report talks about every client that owes you money in the database of uLaw, including outstanding client owing, as well as pending trust transfers. Okay? Keep in mind that this particular database has, over a few million records. There you go. It takes about 5 to 10 seconds. So I'm hoping that this is one of the first questions that you asked me, is how do I generate this report? That's a great question. And here's a list of, again, this is a test database, but here's a list of all your clients for Mr. Roger Moore who has really not paid. But let's say that you want to take care of that big ticket, $3,954. You just got a hold of John Bell, right? What you do is you go into uLaw, keep this report handy. You can print it out or keep it handy. Go into contacts, search for Mr. John Bell. And let's say Mr. John Bell is on the phone. Or later in the year when we have our uLaw app, you probably can get John Bell's credit card right there. And go to his particular matter. Question mark. So he actually owes it that much amount across multiple matters, equally interesting. So you can do partial payments right through. That's adding up. That report tells you that $3,954 across all these three different matters. So let me accept that 316380, same concept. You can actually divvy it up. You could take this report and actually just divvy it up. You could say 395480. 395480. And if you actually look at it, uLaw applies that equally for all the outstanding amounts, so you don't even have to worry about it. Okay, that's something really cool about uLaw. And do the same thing. Payment collection for that amount. Same thing. Okay. That's pretty much it. Take the transaction number and put that in the ledger. Okay. Hope that answered that question. Again, I welcome you to use the chat window to please ask any other questions that you may have. I hope this session was informational and stoked your interest a little bit. And if there's any further questions regarding either Moneris or Pivotal, highly encourage you to visit their website. We're happy to pass along some information from Pivotal, as well as get you some more information about Moneris. Okay, so if there aren't any more questions, I once again thank you for participating in today's webinar. I hope this was an informational session. Please do share your opinion about this webinar and other topics that may be of interest to you within both pertaining to uLaw and otherwise with regards to the legal tech. And we'll be happy to present that to you. And we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Thank you very much, and have yourself a great weekend.